Welcome back. I'd like to share with you some changes I've made. First off, the global data script, for my own sanity's sake, I've reorganized the order of the global variables that are located in this script. So I've kind of grouped these together. The top, and I've even added variables I'm not even using, just bools called plant parameters or fish parameters, just to break things up, to give some spacing in there. So my first ones are simulation parameters. Notice the sim speed slow factor of 4. That means it's going as kind of slow as possible, a reasonable kind of speed of what a fish might actually swim. That can speed up to go up to a number 1, which would be the fastest the possibility, and that's controlled by the time scale. See our plant parameters there. At the beginning, we have some initialization parameters, a max number of plants, etc., and then about growth rates, sizes of plants, that kind of thing. Below that, we have our fish parameters, also initial number of fish, fish sizes, fish, the length ratio, the minimum max length ratios, how short or long the fish will be, maximum velocity of the fish, energy used, and those numbers there are what I settled on from the previous video where I really dug a deep dive into testing different values for that. Maximum energy that a fish can have is 5. We'll talk about that in a little bit though. That's not really 5 for max energy for a fish. That's sort of the baseline, and then it multiplies by the fish's area to see what the real maximum energy can be. And currently I'm setting a fish when it's spawned at the beginning of the simulation to be starting at its max energy. Maybe that's not a great idea. Maybe I should set that a little lower. The fish are going to poop after eating 10 bites. And after their 10th bite, it delays 1 second before they poop. Otherwise, I found out they were pooping on the plant they were eating right after they took that 10th bite, which was kind of ridiculous. Minimum color value, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, what that's for. Below that are the last couple of sections. I've got some about the meat will rot after 5 seconds, and poop disappears after 2 seconds, and the plant, this is the percentage of how much, where the chance that poop is going to spawn into a plant. Will a plant grow from poop, as if the poop is fertilizer? So anyway, that's kind of my new layout for my global parameters. Okay, so what else have we added here lately? One thing you may notice is, well, let me start from the beginning here. First of all, like I said before, the poop that they can turn into a plant, but I don't want all poop turning into a plant. And so basically, I've got a couple different things happening here. There's an overall global variable called PoopToPlantProbability. So I've got that right now set to 0.5. So half the time a plant can turn to poop, but half the time it won't. So the poop will just evolve, will just destroy itself after a while. I also keep track of what a fish eats. So a fish will eat 10 bites and then it's going to poop. It's going to count, well, what are those 10 bites? Are they eating 10 bites of plants, 10 bites of other fish meat, or some mixture? So it's going to keep a ratio of how much plant bites is it taking versus how many total bites of anything, plant or meat, is it eating. So if it only eats, if 50% of the bites are plants, then it's going to have a 50% chance of the poop turning to a plant. So the more plants it eats, the more likely its poop will spawn a plant. So for instance, if I set the poop to plant probability is 0.5, and then if a fish eats half of its bites are plants, then that's 0.5 times 0.5. So then that poop will have a 25% chance of spawning a plant. Otherwise, it'll just destroy itself after the timer runs out. So that's enough about the poop. What about the plants here? I realized I didn't want every plant to always be spawning a sprout. So I've added a probability where, at this point, I think I've got it set to about 70% of plants will be able to sprout. But 30% of the plants will just never sprout. So not every plant will have a long stream like some of these do. What that does is that keeps me from reaching the maximum number of plant sizes too quickly, the maximum number of plants too quickly, which was happening before. So then the poop was never turning to plants. So now there's more chance for a poop to have some chance, because there is a maximum number of plants available in the simulation, and once that's reached, no plant or spawning will no poop will turn to plants, and no more plants will spawn. So the next thing I did was dealing with the fish energy. For one thing, you'll notice here's a weird fish right here. Notice the color; he got darker and darker, and then he turned. So as the fish a fish will be full and bright color when it's got over 25% of the maximum energy it can have. But when its energy level drops to 25% or less of that maximum allowed energy, it'll start getting kind of darker and darker, starting to fade away. So you'll notice this red or this yellowish guy down here, he's starting to get darker, and he just died. I left part of the body of the fish stay the true color of the original fish, so I would know what color it's supposed to be and can tell that there's a difference. So that's a change to give a visual indication of how the energy is doing. Also, I've started recording up here a display for fish population energy. So notice the current fish population energy is about 6. That's actually the average per fish, has an energy of 6. And it's less than the moving average. So the overall fish energy is dropping. These guys are dying off. There's just not enough plants here, I guess, obviously, for this population to survive. So I would be surprised if they eventually all die out, or maybe the skinniest fish will die, but the fish with the bigger mouths might survive. So we'll see. But now I could keep a better eye on my energy system and how it's working by having this display up here. What else have I changed here? I've also changed how the amount of energy a fish has at the beginning of the simulation. Before it was just 40 energy for every fish. Now there's an energy level, initial energy level, but it's multiplied times the mass of the fish. So bigger fish are going to start off the simulation with more energy, which is more realistic. It gives them a chance to live longer. Before, the biggest fish were dying way faster than the smaller fish. So this kind of helps the bigger fish to survive longer. Notice this dark guy right here is about to die. And when he does, he's going to change to meat. And I've changed one of the meat graphics. I wanted to test that to where the body of the fish actually kind of turns to more like bones and meat, but it's hard to see. I've created a zoom tool here to zoom in. And of course it went away. So the zoom tools kind of zoom into the center of the board. Or I could also do this. Click on a fish, if you can catch one. Now this fish is going to stay centered here, and the camera is going to be centered above him. So I can zoom in to really watch him close, which is kind of fun. I kind of wanted to catch a fish that's about to die, so you can see the meat. I don't know if that's too gruesome or not. It's hard to say. So the best way to make a population of fish die very quickly is to make a bunch of fish with very few plants. I also started these guys off with only initial energy of 3, but it's 3 times their mass. So our purple fish here is, you see he's starting to get a little darker. He's below 25% of his energy. He's getting dark pretty quick. He's not going to make it much longer, I'm afraid. Getting hard to see, in fact. And then you'll see him right there. He breaks up. And you'll notice his body is broken into kind of a bony. You see some skeleton and some meat on top of there. So maybe I'll continue with this, making the... Who's not able to eat that one? That was strange. I better check the collider on that, my new meat graphic that I put in there. I think the collider's messed up there. So anyway, that's how these things go. You watch things happen and you notice little bugs here and there. So I think that's it for now. So thanks for watching. All right, so we'll go ahead and add on a little bit to this video. At least case anybody's curious to watch. So let's check on that meat. So we're going to open up our dead fish, the meat collider. We'll open up our dead fish prefab, which looks like that. And if we want to look at just the, just to keep it, make it easier to see, I'm going to delete the tail, the right mouth, and the left mouth, so you can see what we're talking about here. Oh, I forgot there's a fin attached to that. Anyway, so there's a body collider, which we're seeing right there, the bigger circle in bright green. And what that does is that keeps this thing from like going off the map. And we'll actually let it kind of, could bang into a side of a fish, say, and it would bounce away. But if the other collider that I have attached to this is connected to the trigger collider, and it's this little guy here. So the scale of the little the new graphic was not what the old one was. So I need to expand this out so it's more likely to be eaten. I think what happened in the simulation we saw a minute ago was a fish tried to eat the meat. It didn't catch it right. The collider was only here. Now the collider is much bigger, so that's way better. Maybe it's too big, in fact. Maybe a capsule collider is better here, given the shape of this thing. Piece the fin there. This way it'll kind of have to get a good bite in the center of the meat for it to count as a bite. And if it just nibbles the edge of a bone or something here, it's not going to really count as a bite. So we'll keep him up there, give that a try, see how that goes. But that's how I would edit the prefab here. I'm going to need to turn the other parts of the dead fish back on. And let's see. I feel like the fin's in the wrong place, though. From where it was connected to the body, and it's kind of got squashed a bit, too. That looks really strange. Oh my gosh. You can see weird things happen when you rotate these things. Well, that's good for now. I'm going to redo the fin anyway. Make it more bony for the dead fish. So, but for now, we'll go with that. All right, and then to save any of our changes here, I can just click there to click out of the prefab, and it's automatically saved.